Very creative marketers here, two from well-known successful brands, one from a very successful agency, who will talk about projects that they've done integrating new technology into their branding and communications. So we're going to start with Bridget Dolan, who's a VP of Interactive Media and Content for Sephora. Bridget runs social media, mobile, digital store experience, and business development for Sephora. She's led Sephora's direct marketing efforts for the last 12 years, launching social site features such as ratings and reviews, Beauty Talk, Sephora TV, and Pinterest, as well as expanding Sephora's social presence and engagement in Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. Prior to Sephora, Bridget directed online marketing at Eve.com, an early beauty startup, and at the Left Field agency, driving online advertising for clients such as Amazon, Drugstore.com, and Hotmail. So Bridget is going to tell us about a very exciting project that they are launching soon. And yeah, with that.
All right, with that. Hi, everybody. I'm Bridget. There we go. Oh, that's the first slide. Okay, there you have it. So welcome. So our business challenge here, or what we were discussing, was something where we were taking a look at how technology impacts branding and communication in your company. And so what came to mind for me was really how we're looking at the social media space and what what we call clients, is what we call our customers, what our clients are doing organically, how are they sharing on the internet, what are they spending their time doing. And what we found was that without a lot of prompting, our clients are socially sharing a lot. And not only are our clients sharing, but the folks that work in our stores are actually sharing too. So clients are sharing looks that they create on themselves. Our clients are sharing looks that they're getting done in our stores. They're sharing hauls, which if anyone doesn't know what a haul is, you gotta go type in Sephora, H-A-U-L, on YouTube, and you'll see a exhilarating 20-minute video from someone pulling out every item they just bought at Sephora, even though they haven't used it, and they are fascinated and expect you to also be fascinated, which you will be. It's like an online focus group at all times. So really just watching what our clients are doing, and instead of trying to create experiences that we come up with that we think are going to be so fantastic, and then have that uphill battle of trying to get someone to do it, we actually looked at what's already happening and how can we make it so much better. And so our challenge really was taking a look at what our clients are doing and how do we integrate all of this great social media sharing and make it more social shopping. So Sephora's content strategy is really that we want to be a place to learn. So when people come shop at Sephora, they always talk about it being like a kid in a candy store. I just love Sephora, it's so amazing. But not only do they love the products that are there, they really love to play. They want to try things, they want to learn, they want to kind of up their game in beauty. And so we're really trying to help our clients. And when we look at the user experience of everything we're creating, both for content and our site, we try and really understand, does it help her learn? Does it help her choose? How are we helping her in her journey? Because the more integrated that she is in the beauty category, the more ultimately she'll be loyal and spend with us because she'll get really excited about beauty. So with that, we came up with the idea of the beauty board. And this is not yet launched. You're seeing a sneak peek. It is launching soon. But the idea is really very similar to what's working on Pinterest, what's working on Instagram. Women and men all over are creating beautiful beauty looks on their face, on their cool nail art, whatever it is, and they are sharing it on social media platforms. And if you look at the comments, people say, oh my God, that's so beautiful, that's so great. But they'll also say, what products did you use? Because they want to demystify those looks. They want to create it at home. And I think what differentiates the content that's being created by your peers than from Sephora is, at Sephora, you expect that we're the experts and that we're going to do something amazing and that's hard to replicate potentially. But if it's someone else, if it's someone like you, you would assume that you too can create this look and you really want to, and you want to know which products are they using. So what we tried to do was really pull together onto our site a way that our clients could upload product or upload images on our site using their Sephora account, and they can tag the products that they used and describe it a little bit, and they can love other people's images and save all of this great information just like you could on Pinterest, but on Sephora.com while you're shopping. And I think what differentiates us a little bit is that we're actually really tailoring this information and creating this experience with mobile in mind. We think that actually this is one of those, we're not quite doing mobile first, we're just doing it all at the same time, but we have the site desktop experience, the iPhone and Android apps, making it tablet friendly, and launching it all at the same time. Because we know that over 25% of our traffic is from mobile devices, and so you can't anymore let desktop lead. You have to have an integrated experience, especially something like photos. So how technology is really playing into this is that now everyone has an iPhone or an Android phone with an awesome camera, and they're creating these looks, and they're socially sharing it, and it's really easy. And so technology is changing the way that we are communicating with our brands, communicating with our clients, because they have access and they want to share with you and they want to interact with you. And we really feel like we need to provide a great venue for them to do that with us. And I think what also is interesting is, I can't even see this, is that really the way that we're thinking about it is ratings and reviews. It sounds so old school, and we've all had it for a long time in retail, but it really is still the thing that people are using to decide what are they buying, how are they shopping. They're reading the ratings and reviews, and we feel like this is the next iteration of that, is having visual imagery on the product page that is the proof point saying, oh, this is an amazing, lipstick, and this is how it works, or this is the look it will create. An example I would give is, we have like bright neon orange lipstick, and you're like, damn, sister, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that off. But you take a look and you see that it's actually really sheer when you see it on 5 different women. And then you might also say, well, I don't know if that would go very well with my fair skin tone. Well, if I see that other women who have fair skin have posted images of themselves with that look, then I know I too can pull it off. So I think that's really solving a lot of the online shopping challenges that something like color creates. And the real idea here is, like I just said, that maybe what I would do is then integrate it into the shopping path. So for a long time, I've run social media at Sephora, and I'm running social media on all these platforms off of our site. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And I see the biggest opportunity for retailers is to bring all of that great content into the shopping path where clients need it the most. So yes, they're spending a lot of time on Facebook, and they're spending a lot of time on Pinterest. I myself have been lost for hours there just this weekend. But really, it's when I'm in shopping mode, that's when I need that information. And how do I integrate that into the buy path, into the user experience at the time she needs it? That's not distracting, but that is really adding and helping her. And so I think the last piece that I would end on is that we're really looking at this project for the Beauty Board as not just in a way to engage our clients and help them shop with each other. We see this as a great way for Sephora to integrate content as well, but also our stores. So we have 10,000 employees across all our stores, and I'll tell you, they do a damn good job looking good every day. And we should be capturing their photos and having them uploaded to their store pages. And I focus a lot on local marketing. How do we get our stores to be able to drive clients into their exact location? Well, one is showcasing the expertise in that store. And this is giving them a venue to showcase how amazing their talents and skills are by uploading those photos by store. We also have an American Idol style group of makeup artists that are really pushing the envelope. So where do I give them a benefit and a way to showcase all the great imagery that they're doing when they're at Fashion Week and behind different shoots? And lastly, really our brands. They also are creating beautiful imagery, and how do we integrate that into the shopping path as well? So that was really the challenge, was how do we leverage what's already happening with technology and create it as part of our branding. And so the Beauty Board is how we're doing that, and we'll be launching this in the next few weeks. So there you go.
All right, we're gonna do all 3 presentations, and then we're gonna have a discussion afterwards. So the next presentation is, why is this? Sorry about the echo. From Jessica L'Esperance, who's VP of User Experience for Huge. Jessica specializes in the development of large commerce and content sites, focusing her attention on research and strategy and UX. Her work at Huge is centered on making large brands reach broader audiences and develop new communication platforms for clients like Twitter, American Express, Four Seasons, Reuters, the City of New York, Rue La La, and American University. Prior to joining Huge, Jessica worked as an editor for magazines and websites focused on global travel, including Travelocity and France Today. She currently heads up UX in Huge's recently opened San Francisco office. Jessica.
Hello. It's great to be here. I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about Huge because we're relatively new to the San Francisco market, and then jump into a case study for you. At Huge, we really think of ourselves as being in the digital business. So we build everything and anything digital. But what we really also do is help businesses and brands transform and really grow. We've done this with a real laser focus on the user and their needs, and it started off kind of being in the business of UX and user-centered design, and has really grown into a full communication, marketing, design, and technology business that's really very user-focused. We are structured, we're global. Brooklyn is definitely our headquarters and our largest office. About 450 people. I guess this really wants me to have proper posture. And LA is our next biggest one, and San Francisco is growing, and I'll get into that. I think that this is just to show you kind of an interesting evolution. We really started as a web design agency, and I joined in 2007 when we were really focused on just building websites, and a lot of other companies and our clients have found tons of success with putting the user first, and I think now we take it for granted that really our customers are at the center, and their needs are what we really should be building around. So that's something that we really kind of take to heart in everything that we do. The SF office, we've been around since last summer, so about 20 months now, and we're growing at a clip. For anyone who's worked at a startup, we're moving into our first real office that we pick next month, so we're super excited about that. It's like a milestone. And we have a pretty strong design team and a growing development practice as well, which I thought was interesting from a technology focus for today, because we really believe in that partnership and try to kind of grow our skill set that way as well. Really quickly about me, I have a kind of passion for learning, and you mentioned some of the work that I've done, so I won't dwell too long on this, but I love traveling, and I'm very curious about the world, which I think kind of fuels my design practice, and you'll see in some of the work that we do, that curiosity about people and patterns and human behavior really fuels a lot of the decisions that we make. This I'll have to talk to you about later. I'm just going to jump right into the case study. Restoration Hardware is a company that many of you are obviously familiar with. They build furniture, sell furniture, interior decorating, fixtures, things like that. They are incredibly well curated and focused on what their brand is. It's really modern, austere, kind of classic craftsman collections of furniture. And they came to us and wanted to launch a new business line for them, which is to get into fine art and really selling contemporary, one-of-a-kind pieces online, mostly on iPads, actually, with a desktop component. It makes a lot of sense for them to extend their brand. It builds them a lot of credibility, elevating them, I think, into a real fine art space instead of just like being an interior design firm that sells posters or something. It's really kind of about these experiences for your home. The challenge with that, though, from a digital perspective is how do you sell? I mean, no one's been really good at selling one-of-a-kind pieces online or selling pieces at thousands and thousands of dollars without kind of that human touch and that high-touch factor. So it was pretty daunting, but also really exciting at the same time. Just quickly to talk about how we did it, we created a vision that was sort of our first step, which was a really tight team, small UX, art director, motion designer, and what we did was really just like spend a month thinking like what would be the most awesome way to kind of find, discover, fall in love with, imagine it in your home, and then buy one-of-a-kind pieces of art. Sculptures, paintings, prints, collages, all of that. And then we kind of created this prototype or motion piece to really bring it to life. After we had a really strong vision, we were able to attack it from a design and build all at the same time, which is really like a common software model, but not so common in the agency world. So I'm calling it kind of agency agile because it wasn't officially agile, but it was a really interesting process from a design perspective. Huge is so design focused that we tend to run the shop, but this time we really had to focus on like, how do we get this built as fast as possible? Let's see. So I have a video here to share with you. Whoops. That I hope will just play. This is the home screen of what is live right now. It launched in, can you see if you can hit play for me? It launched in November of last year, and it was incredibly interesting. As I mentioned, like their brand is so austere and so like minimalist that we had a lot of really fascinating discussions around like how to invite the user to participate in a way that a gallery would. So it's really minimalist and kind of like user driven. Here you're seeing like the artist browse page, so you can dive right into looking at the artists like by showcasing their work themselves. You can dig into individual artists' gallery shows, if you will. We kind of chose this skeuomorphic representation of the gallery itself to showcase the work so that we could address the issues around scale and around like imagining it in your own home. Some of the other things that we found through kind of observing and visiting galleries is that people really need to be able to see it as theirs. So we wanted to create some affordances around zooming in, walking up close, looking at what it would look like if people were near it. And you know, it was really fascinating to kind of integrate commerce into that as well, so that it's not just a browsing experience, but also super easy to transact, and then also really intuitive. They were very adamant about kind of like getting rid of all buttons and getting rid of all menus, and for a long time didn't even want a navigation, which is crazy from a UX perspective, but from their brand it was really like we shouldn't be bothering people to like do anything. It should all be very self-directed. So from a build, it was pretty interesting. I'm really happy with where it netted out, and I encourage you to check it out on the iPad. It's awesome. And maybe drop $30,000 on a new painting.
So our final presentation is from Jesse McMillan, who's the Executive Creative Director at Virgin America. Jesse is responsible for everything from advertising to in-flight experience, events, signage, partnerships, and beyond. As steward of the California-based airlines brand Aesthetic, it's his job to keep Virgin America on the cutting edge as a design-focused brand. Evidence of his inspiration can be found everywhere from the gate areas at Virgin America's San Francisco International Airport Terminal 2 home base, to the beverage cups and headsets provided to guests in flight. Before coming aboard at Virgin America in 2007, McMillan was a senior designer at Nike's European headquarters in Amsterdam, where he worked on sportswear and branding for the EMEA region. And he's going to talk about a project that combined a very real practical need with a lot of creativity. So,
hello. So yeah, the thing I'm going to talk about today is a little bit different in the sense that I think it's not necessarily directly a technology project, but it, for me, really shows the importance of technology and engagement and the social aspect to just about everything that I think brands are doing today. The project that I'm going to talk about is actually the refresh of our in-flight safety video, which I don't know, some of you might have seen this if you fly Virgin America, but it was a pretty fun project for us and really actually a pretty challenging, hopefully this gets working, challenging project in the sense that it's a very technical piece of information that needs to communicate a lot. And has to go through so much regulation. I actually ended up having to work really intimately with the FAA for a number of months, which I can tell you is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my career, but was also really fun and exciting. And for us, it was, we had a pretty fun and interesting safety video already on our planes. I think it really took the approach of speaking to people like they were really people, of playing with humor and really trying to make something that traditionally has been very boring and stale and really up that a notch. And we had this video on the plane for about 6 years, and in the meantime, other airlines had started to explore and kind of push the boundaries most notably some airlines like Air New Zealand, who had done a pretty fun thing with The Hobbit and others. And so we kind of came back to the point of thinking, okay, well, if we're going to get back into this and refresh this video, we really have to take it up a notch and have more fun with it. And so really to kick off the concepting on this project, we actually partnered with another Virgin brand, which is kind of one of the fun things about working for the Virgin brand. You have brands all over the world in lots of different categories, and one of the most recent ones is a brand down in Los Angeles called Virgin Produced, which does film and television production. And so we really all kind of sat in a room and said, okay, where do we start? If we want to refresh this thing, what are we going to do? And I think one of the important things for us and for a lot of brands is to really try and find something that's really relevant to the DNA and the ethos of the brand. And so for us, music and really the history of music and entertainment that the Virgin brand has with things like Virgin Megastores was really kind of something that came up right away. And we thought, well, why don't we do something with music? That's not something that anyone has done in this space. Is a nice way to communicate all of the types of things that you need to, where the exit doors are and all these things, but in a really fresh and fun way. And so we ended up connecting with a director named John Chu, who had done quite a bit of work in this space. He worked on some of the Step Up movies and a number of music videos, and was really connected to this group of dance and music that really brought some energy and interest to this project. And in the meantime, ended up getting connected with a whole cast of dancers that, I don't know if anybody here is into dance at all. I wasn't before this project, but after having done it, I'm not now like, I can't believe how some of these people can move. But alumni from shows like So You Think You Can Dance and lots of the movies in Hollywood and even music tours. Like one of the guys on our cast was just on the last Michael Jackson tour right before he finished touring. So it was really interesting to have all these stories and all of the creative projects that people had been a part of along the way. But I think show you a little taste. This is a teaser that we did, and along with launching this project in a kind of more fun and interesting way. Let's see. Anyway, well, this has music, if we can get it to work. But one of the things that we really wanted to do is to make sure that not only was this going to be a fun and interesting and engaging piece on the plane, but that this might be something that someone wanted to watch outside of the plane, that whether it was on YouTube or a number of other places where someone might interact with this. We really wanted to make sure that it was entertaining and had that type of value to it. And the way that we wanted to launch it, we really kind of took cues from the way that movies and music videos and the kind of current culture of video, especially online, is happening. And so we really kind of launched out with a little trailer that gave a sneak peek, and then even did things like we had a whole social engagement program where people could send in their own dance videos in order to potentially be involved in a future version of the video. And for me, one of the fun things was really seeing some of these things that you see in some of these other videos come to life. Like I had never seen one of those life vests inflate. Like you see it in an animated way, but actually seeing someone do it and then having 6 dancers do it as they're doing robotic kind of like breakdancing was just crazy. There's a little girl in the scene. She was so cute. She ended up rapping a certain section. And just the number of talent that we had involved was really spectacular. So like I was saying, in order to launch this whole project, we thought, we really couldn't just put it on the plane and let it go like that. We really had to do more than that. So we kind of did a whole coordinated blitz from teasing the video with kind of teaser movie trailer style videos to a big on-the-ground event in Times Square where we took over Times Square and had people on the ground, some of our flight attendants there with headsets and devices in order to get people to watch and listen to the video there, an in-flight premiere, a social contest as well where people could send in their own videos of themselves doing their funnest breakdance move in order to be involved in a future version of our video. So that's what I have today.
Thank you so much, Jesse, and as well as Jessica and Bridget. We're just going to have a discussion now. I have some questions just to talk about, not only your projects, but sort of your overall evolution of branding in terms of technology. So first of all, thinking about the projects that each of you just presented, what was the biggest, you think, technological challenge, and did it make you adjust your approach or expectations in terms of like the creative vision for the brand? So did you have a vision that you then ran into a technological barrier because you were sort of pushing the boundaries of anything? So anyone can go first, or?
It's funny, that question always makes me want to say it's not a technology problem, it's a people problem. But I think we ran into some interesting challenges because we were designing it as they were building out the business model. So we didn't know, how many art pieces we would have, what kind of navigation menus we would need, what kind of content we would have. We were really adamant that we were going to need to talk a lot and tell a lot of stories about the art pieces, the artists, the inspiration, the context, like all the stories you would get from a gallery owner or from a museum in order to kind of build the brand and also build interest in any of these given products. And as we went, some of that content production became very challenging at scale, which is, fair, but that became one of our biggest hurdles, actually, like how to kind of adapt as the scale shifted. And from a technology perspective, we ended up, because we were working agilely, we also threw away a lot of work, which is common, but can be a bit painful as you're going through it. Like, I think we lost like 2 months worth of work as we decided to scale back on things like we're only gonna have 30 artists at launch, or we're not gonna need like that really cool menu you design that helps you like navigate from A to Z really quickly, which is a small feature, but ended up being something that was super elegant and took us some time that now is on the table. On the floor, I should say.
Yeah. Well, at Sephora, and I think similarly, I feel like I learned the same lesson over and over. But basically the idea that you have to keep it simple to get it out the door, and also to not overwhelm clients. So I've developed in the past like an iPad app for the store, and it had so many features. It was so cool, and it could do so many things. And then I go in the stores, and it was like dusty, and it was like breaking my heart. And it's because it was almost too much. But if you keep it really simple, and if you keep things really simple, then they're more usable, and then you can add features as you really see the demand for them. And so I think, scope creep and keeping myself like, no, we can't do it all. And so just keeping it really simple to get it out the door, and just really focusing on stability. Like even, Open Kimono here is like, we could have launched Monday, and I'm like, no, there's a few issues on the Android app, and I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait until it's really stable, because I don't want to go out and have stability be the thing that that people judge you on. I want it to be like, wow, that's so amazing, not like, oh, that thing crashed. So I think just keeping it simple and stability have kept us in check, and those are some of the challenges is keeping ourselves in check from letting it get too crazy.
I mean, I think for us, what was interesting was I think one of the things that really helped us, that's not necessarily a technology challenge, was, but that played into just the nature of the project, was I think keeping things engaging and interesting is so difficult now, because like there's so many pieces of content that people are being bombarded with all the time, and so any one thing actually rising up to the top and being something that somebody remembers is like nearly impossible, it feels like. And I think just inherently in the project that we were working on, an airline safety video is not necessarily something that anyone ever talks about or says is fun or even wants to be notable in any way. And so I think the fact that this piece that we had started with was something that had so much room for opportunity, and I think sometimes that is something that I really look for in a lot of the projects that we work on, is to try and find things that are almost like easy wins, where it's like no one has touched this category for a long time, or no one has put in any effort into making this thing beautiful. And so then when you do, bring a little bit of magic to that, it's something that people actually really respond to. With our video, I mean, it was getting written up all over the place. I think even the New Yorker entertainment editor did a piece on it because it was like, oh my God, this thing that is so boring and stupid usually is now like outrageously over the top. And so I think, you know, finding that way where you can create innovation by not having to like reinvent the world or the wheel, but finding a project that just needs a little love and can then become beautiful is really something to always kind of keep your eyes on.
So how, even from, you know, a few years ago, how has your approach to your jobs changed because of mobile technology and other sort of user-based changes? You know, because you can't, I imagine you can't just have a grand idea and then, you know, put it into practice the way you would if you were just working with print and TV anymore, you know. So what are some ways that your jobs have changed as a result of this user shift?
Team is always in the room. I think as we're talking about any changes to the website or changes to marketing platforms or anything that we're doing, we're always really thinking about mobile and tablet and making sure that every idea we have is going to work for all of those. And I think that's a challenge, is an ongoing, you know, it's not a side thing. It's got to be on from day one. It's got to be primary. And I think that's a different way of thinking. And I think we had like, I don't know, like 3 people who worked in mobile, or like 2. and it was like, they can't sit in every meeting and babysit the rest of the organization and be the one that mobile advocates. Like everyone else is going to have to start figuring it out too. And I think that's true for social media as well. Like I can't just be like the social media, you know, guru. Like everyone's going to have to start thinking mobile and thinking social as just part of our daily lives. And I think that's a shift.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we're really looking at, it's like Sephora or a lot of other brands, I think, where it's the mobile conversation is happening in the very beginning and is involved in everything that you're doing versus it being kind of an add-on to a project. And I think just the way people are connected and integrated now and can quickly jump, like they could see something and then quickly jump to learning more about it or doing, you know, another action. And so I think it just challenges you to really think through the way you're telling a story now versus it's like, hey, I'm putting this in front of you and you're just going to digest the whole thing. Now people are doing, I mean, we see it even on the plane, which I think is insane, where people are doing 3, 4, 5 things at a time. They've got CNN, you know, playing on the seat back. They've got their computer up where they're typing a PowerPoint, and then they also have their, you know, iPhone where they're listening to their own music. So it's like the ability that people are multitasking now and jumping from one screen to another, or multiple screens at one time. I think it just really has challenged us to be a lot more creative with the way we deliver information to people and making sure that whatever you're doing is relevant, that it's not just kind of a random conversation anymore.
Yeah, I think that we have the luxury of being observers who kind of come in and help brands and look at them sort of as a reflection. So we often, regardless of the assignment, we'll look at like, well, what's the full ecosystem? What is everyone doing? And often uncover kind of these synergies that a lot of times brands aren't even seeing. We do a lot of primary research, and I mean, I feel like I used to have to make a really strong case for it and like literally just go out onto the street and take pictures of people and have phones and be like, will you just do some testing? No one wanted to pay for this, but I really believe this is important, you know? And now it's like absolutely built into kind of watching people using their devices in context, and it's not even just mobile anymore, which used to mean on the go and sort of distracted, and now it's really kind of like multitasking, multi-device universe, which I think is really adding an interesting layer in terms of what, from my perspective, like what features and what touch points make sense to blow out when, and how to extend products to the different kinds of channels. Like the beauty board, are you rolling that out? What are you doing on mobile versus desktop?
Mobile will have a few extra features. You know, the app has more native features, and so how the user experience works and some of the capabilities are actually unique to the iPhone app, and they're not in, you know, even the mobile site. And then the desktop, has a bit more breadth in what you can see, but mobile is a lot more about a stream of how you can see things. So it's just that fact that people consume things differently and want different levels of information, depending on which device they're on, a little bit. It's just what can you consume on this screen versus this screen, right?
So you were talking about social media earlier, and as a result of social media, any consumer can instantly and publicly give feedback to brands, which I assume is both a blessing and a curse. So how are you now, when you're going into one of these big branding initiatives, either day to day or one of these big projects, like how are you integrating any of that customer feedback, or is it just so much noise that you can't really account for it? Like how do you process that and use it?
So at Sephora, we have several different ways that we get information from our clients. So one is the Beauty Talk, which is our on-site community. It's very similar to Facebook, but I call it a kinder, gentler Facebook, or it's really our real clients. Not that Facebook's not our real clients, but it's our clients who are logged in using a Sephora account. And so I think there's a bit more of an accountability and a bit more of a kindness factor and thoughtfulness. And we get a lot of feedback from both Facebook and from Beauty Talk. And so for something like the Beauty Board, I'm actually inviting some of our best Beauty Talk users to be beta users and give us feedback on the experience. And in Facebook, I mean, our clients do not hold back. They will tell us every minute of every day what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. And it's part of your brand as well, and you can't ignore it. And it's not noise. We do listen to all of it, and we try and address it as best we can. But they will, I mean, that's how you find out what your 2.0 list of things you need to do are. You've got the list, but they're going to prioritize it for you by the rigor and excitement and number of complaints for each thing. Like, we'll really quickly and clearly tell you what you've got to fix or what you've got to prioritize to make it even better for them. You can guess, but it's invaluable, and it's free. It's the best user testing that we have. But you have to be willing to actually listen and do something about it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how the whole conversation has changed. I mean, obviously, I think similarly, we're constantly monitoring all of our social feeds, taking lots of feedback. I know even for our corporate communications department, I think sometimes it's like a humongous nightmare because like the littlest thing, someone has a bad experience on a plane and they post a video or this or that, and all of a sudden that one voice can get elevated to the power to potentially take down a whole brand. So I think that's a real challenge, I think, a lot of times. And how do you continue to make the right decision when you're trying to listen to 100 voices, and obviously not all of those are experts or know your brand like they should, or this or that or the other thing. So I think it's something that brands are coming to terms with a lot right now, I think. I mean, I think you've seen it in the last several years where, like someone like The Gap tries to relaunch their logo and gets totally critiqued and then pulls out of it, and it's like actually really changing huge shifts that probably had lots of thought and money and whatever put behind them. So I think it's really something that we're all kind of learning how to navigate to a certain degree. But as well, like you said, I think there's so much power there, and then the one positive thing that can catch fire and turn into something that earns your brand a ton of exposure and recognition can also be such an asset too. Like, I know it's funny with this video, some of our in-flight flight attendants were like super inspired by this dancing, and one in particular was like doing the craziest, like literally dancing as they're taking off, and somebody ended up recording it, posting it online. Like a week later, this flight attendant's on the Today Show, like, because they're just like, what the hell, this is insane. So I think, you don't know. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that you don't know. You don't know what's going to be bad, what's going to be good, what will go up or what will go down. So you're constantly having to stay tuned, like in the minute, and being really reactive, which is a challenge, but there's a lot of potential there, I guess, as well.
So I imagine there's a balancing act between adopting new technologies and also staying true to a brand's established identity. I mean, I'm sure you ran into that working with Restoration Hardware. Can you give maybe an example of a project where you used a brand new technology or capability to emphasize an existing core value of your brand, or a brand that you were working for, and making that connection between sort of the what you really solidly stand for, but then trying something brand new. So, yeah.
I think being the first airline to really fleet-wide have wireless internet access from the sky was like a huge deal for us. It was something that was great because it was a first. I mean, it's always fun to be able to say, we're the first to do this. But just technologically, it was such a massive undertaking to basically like get all of your planes wired up and then have a whole network of cell towers that are able to communicate with the plane and make sure that people can get online was huge. But I think now people almost expect it. I think a lot of times when you're flying, if you're not able to stay connected, it's kind of becoming this like negative or whatever. And I think that was really important for us because we've always been a brand that cared a lot about the experience and thought that traveling on a plane should not just be something like being herded cattle into a car and this horrible experience for up to 6, 12 hours, whatever, that your life should remain connected and that you should be able to do all the things that you could do on the ground from 35,000 feet. So I think that was really important, and to be able to come out and do that first was really fun for us.
Designers were constantly kind of making recommendations to our clients about what they should do and what's changing, and we really need to be kind of at the forefront or advocate for different kinds of opportunities with technology. But our website was really boring and kind of like, not boring, but hadn't changed in a very long time. So recently we relaunched it and really put into practice a lot of the things that we'd been constantly kind of encouraging our clients to and recommending them to do for ourselves. So if you go to it now, there's like really big, bold, kind of spacious imagery and full bleed photos. And as you scroll down, you kind of we played a little bit with best practices, like our navigation will take over your whole page and you can't scroll in and out of it. And some stuff that some of the UX gurus would be like, you can't do that, fundamentals broken. So for us, that was a really big and important kind of position to take and to showcase that actually things can be experienced differently and it can change how you feel about a brand and how you feel about Huge and how you feel about us as a kind of development shop, technology leader, design agency, based on kind of how we could represent ourselves.
At Sephora, we launched something called Color IQ, which was a device that you can scan your skin to read the color of your skin tone so that you could perfectly be matched for foundation. And that was a really interesting technology project that we partnered with Pantone, who's the color authority, and they have been doing it with paint. So you could scan your jacket and then get a paint color for your wall. And we did it with skin tone, and then you would get one of 112 different shades, and you would type that into an iPad, and then we'd pull up all the products that would match with that skin tone, be the perfect match for you. And then you could actually say, do you want liquid or powder, or do you want SPF, and really make it your own. And that really helped us to solidify both that we are the makeup authority and that we will help you really find the right product for you and really personalize it to you. But at the same time, it was a technology project, and it's always risky to try something because if it had scanned and turned you orange when we put the product on you, that's a risk. So we worked really hard to make sure that that was a great experience and connected with our brand and what's important at the same time.
Since I think I hear the portfolio review activity picking up, and I'm sure people want to go check that out. So if you could wave a magic wand and have any new technology to solve one of your biggest branding problems or marketing problems, what would it be?
Be able to project on a surface that doesn't exist. So if there was somehow a wall right here that we could see both sides of, I find that I'm constantly kind of illustrating ideas with my hands and being like, it would be like this, in places where I don't have a laptop to reference, and working in visual, it's so helpful to actually look at the stuff that we're talking about as opposed to not. So for me, that would be really incredible. And I know for many of the brands that we work on and clients that we work with, if we could actually kind of bring a lot of the technology that we're developing for their mobile devices or kind of in-store experiences to wherever people are, like break it out of the screens, it would be really cool.
Hologram.
One of the things I think would be really cool to have in our in-flight experience would be some type of motion and facial recognition for the person sitting in the seat so that you could interact with the stuff happening on your seat back without actually having to tap it. You could like wave your hand in front of it and change the channel, or it could recognize your face and say, hey Jesse, how's it going? Would you like your rum and coke from last time and finish your movie that you didn't finish? Like that kind of stuff I think would be pretty exciting for us.
Tracking both virtual makeover and augmented reality, and neither are quite where I want them to be, but if I could marry the two of them and have augmented reality really project onto your face, and so you're in your store and you just, without actually having to apply, you could try on a lot of different looks and then go and buy them, that would be great for me.
And thank you everybody for coming.